What are the business use cases for AI? How do you actually use OpenClaw to make money? How do you actually use Hermes or DeepSeek or any of these agentic harnesses to make money? What exactly is an agentic agent? What does this all mean? And let's get into it. So by the end of this video, you should understand how to get some traction with these agents and how to use them to the best of your ability and understand in a realistic way how to use these agents, what they're good for. So let's get into it. All right, so here we go. Business cases for AI. So this is all research backed. I'm currently building out a website for you guys so that you can have links to all of my presentations as well as the backup articles that are used in the presentations. All of these presentations are made with interactions between myself and my Hermes agent. I have a AI lab here in my office with me that I've been working on since March of 2026 on agentic workflows and cryptocurrency and financial management with agents and so on. So some of these business use cases, 91% of businesses are using AI in some capacity, and 6% are AI high performers. And the AI spend so far in 2026 is over $2.5 trillion. There's been a lot of excitement in the space and a lot of disappointment as well in the space. And everyone is using AI, but almost no one is getting real value out of it. This is from McKinsey's data, and it's a brutal story. So 91% of organizations are using AI in 2026. It was a mass adoption, the largest enterprise adoption of any technology that we've seen in history. Okay. And it's up from 2024. So the gap is 91% adoption and 6% are high performers. So that means that 85% of organizations are using AI, but not getting measurable bottom line value from it. All right. So operations are the number one source. So an Hermes, or I call him Hermes, it sounds better than Hermes, but nobody knows what I'm talking about when I say Hermes. Maybe if you guys give me a like and a subscribe and a follow and you keep following my videos, I can just start saying Hermes instead of having to correct make sure everybody's on the same page here. So BCG's analysis of where AI's value actually comes from, it's not from chatbots, we all know. And operations is the number one source of value in AI. And personally, I use my Hermes, which most people call Hermes, but I like Hermes. I use my Hermes for administration. He's over there administrating all of the computers and basically the AI lab. He is my orchestrator. He knows how to do Linux. If I find a cool software, I tell him to pull it up and download it and implement it. Of course, I have built him this way because when you first download an Hermes agent or any agent, you have to assume they know nothing because they basically do know nothing. They don't know what your preferences are. They don't know, maybe they know the machine they're on, but they don't know what you're going to give them access to. Okay, you can give them access to different accounts or not. So they need what I refer to as proprioception. Just like humans need proprioception, AI needs to be aware of their environment. So you need to write them and make them aware of that environment and come up with rules and guidelines. What are they allowed to do? What are they not allowed to do? If there's any budget constraints, what are your goals? Why do you even have an Hermes or an agent? These are all very important, and I don't want to undercut that, because I think a lot of content creators make it sound easier than it actually is to operate with AI, or at least it's been harder for me than it has been when I see what people are showing out here in the creator space. Maybe I'm just so that you know, before you get into any of this, or if you are building with AI and you're trying to figure out what to use your AI on, how to use it, how much is this going to cost me? I want to be as transparent and upfront with you as possible, because I would hate to give you information that makes you think, hey, you go out today and download Hermes and he's going to do all these things for you right out of the gate. And that is not usually the case for most people. You need to give yourself at least 30 days to go, in my opinion, to go back and forth within Hermes or whatever agent you choose and really dial in your preferences, really dial in your communication channels, really dial in what data should be shared with AI and what shouldn't, and what should be shared with LLMs and what shouldn't. Okay. But the largest advantage with these agents is operations. Okay, 62% are using it for operations. Sales and marketing, I think, is a no-brainer just for privacy and security reasons. Most employers and companies, your sales and marketing material are out there in public anyway. So if it's shared on a public LLM or an LLM that data is being trained off of, it probably isn't as big of a deal as trade secrets or your operations or client information, moving money back and forth. All right. One of the main use cases for AI agents is moving money and transacting and assisting in the buying and selling. Most people are not creators. Most people are consumers. All right. So most people will use AI to consume, to transact, and so on. I am talking about Hermes because he is my administrator of pretty much all of my hardware here in my AI lab. And that is because I have some very severe technical gaps, which is the whole reason why I even started down this path with Hermes. I heard that he is an AI agent that I can put on hardware and I can write him a prompt, a command, instructions to have him do things that I cannot do, or do things that would take me days, weeks, maybe even months to even learn how to do accurately, because these are multi-step processes in technology that, I don't know about you, but me as a human, if it's something is longer than 3 steps, I'm very likely to make an error. And these agents, their environment, their native environment is hardware and the internet and technology. And they inherently have skills, talents, and abilities that I just don't have. It's like drinking water and eating food for these agents, not to say that they're sentient or anything like that. They are software, but I do personify agents, and a lot of people do personify agents because it helps us understand concepts better. Humans have done this since the beginning of time. All right. We've personified planets, we've personified animals and trees. And all of our stories, the clouds, the stars, pick really any inanimate object, and humans have personified it in a story. Okay, so don't get too sensitive when I do that, because some people do, which is understandable because you don't know me. And I'm trying to tell you about myself a little bit, not just because I'm an expert in it. I'm not just telling you about myself to be egotistical or anything like that. It's more so that you understand my point of view and you can decide based off of your point of view how accurate this is, or if it applies to you in any way. Okay, so that's really the only reason why I talk about myself, is to try to help you make a judgment call on whether or not to use the information I'm giving you. Okay, so operations is the number one source of value in AI right now because of agentic agents like Hermes, like OpenClaw, like DeepSeek's new harness, like all of these agentic autonomous agents. Pick one. But these agents can do operations. Okay, operations, they can manage your computer. Basically anything that a human can do on a computer, an agent can now do on a computer, which is absolutely incredible. And I don't know about you, but me personally, I use my Hermes. He manages my servers, he sets up software for me, all these things that I, one, don't have patience for or don't have time for, or I have a technical knowledge gap in. And when I write to my Edamaze and I talk to him about software, he will automatically let me know what I will need to accomplish this or what my options are. And most of the time, he and I have discussions about how to do it locally versus in the cloud, or how to split up local operations and cloud operations, all these things. And my point in telling you this is that Edamaze and other agentic agents, their native environment is the computer. Okay, we don't live in the computer. We can see it from the outside looking in. And they're on computer chips and graphics cards and processes inside that computer. That is his native environment. He knows it inside and out. Those are his streets. Okay, he's very streetwise when you get an Hermes or an Hermes. But they know nothing about you, and they know when you get them, and they know nothing about your life, and they know nothing about your business. So the context for your life is extremely important, or the context for your business, whatever you're using Edamaze for, or a OpenClaw or Edamaze, is extremely important to make sure they understand exactly what you want them to do. And you'll find that for the first 30 days, you're setting up communications channels and really making sure that your agent understands what the workflow is and what's expected. Maybe a seed example, we call them seeds, some sort of example, like I want the output to look like this, or a screenshot, or a reference, a photo reference of what you want the end product to look like, or a very descriptive step-by-step SOP, summary of standard operating procedure, something like that, to make sure that your agent understands exactly what is expected and how it is expected to complete the task. And 62% is operations, and that's where most people are seeing the biggest benefit, which makes sense. So then we have the second category, which is sales and marketing. And sales and marketing, to me, I thought would be the number one category for most companies to dive in on with AI and use agentic workflows. And that's at 20%. And R&D and innovation are at 15%. And the reason why I thought it would be sales and marketing is because of privacy and security issues. So with sales and marketing, businesses don't have to worry as much about what information they give to these LLMs, because sales and marketing generally tends to be information that you share with the public anyway. So why would you be concerned about giving your business practices or trade secrets or work that you and your team are doing over to the LLM companies like Anthropic and OpenAI? Either I've underestimated how much people care about sharing their trade secrets with LLMs, or I've underestimated the amount people trust OpenAI and Anthropic, or perhaps people just have been lied to and they don't understand the real risks with giving their information over to the LLMs, and that the LLMs have been caught over and over again training on company information that they said they wouldn't train on, and then basically your information gets sent to your competitors when they enter in a prompt. Okay, these are things that have happened to companies, but they're not doing it anymore, supposedly, and I guess people just don't really care about that so much. So a lot of people are putting a lot of operations onto OpenAI and Anthropic. So the leaders in AI are generating 62% of their value from business operations in AI. So meaning that they're making changes to their supply chain processes with AI, becoming more efficient, managing their operations, production, or pricing with AI to strategically position themselves in the market. So most businesses are not getting into any emerging markets, let's say, with AI. So most companies that are successful in creating value with AI, this top 62% that are finding value in operations with AI are taking their existing processes and figuring out how to make those more efficient through the use of AI. So, where does AI actually pay for itself? Well, one area is customer service. And with customer service, the majority of the savings does come from cutting labor costs. So the idea here is that these AI customer service agents will eventually replace Susie and Bob and other customer service reps that are answering phones or responding to emails. Most of those are overseas already for the Americans. However, this will heavily impact other countries like India and the Philippines. And we've known about this outsourcing trend for a while. In the past, the outsourcing was going to places like India and the Philippines, and this shift will heavily impact those industries and those countries. And then we move on to marketing and sales, which is the area that I thought that AI would be most prevalent in for security purposes, because with sales and marketing information, it's already being shared out on the web. So if you're sharing information from your sales and marketing material with an LLM, you are likely to not really care that much. But if you're sharing trade secrets with an LLM or private information with an LLM, most people really do care about that. So marketing and sales is an area where we're seeing AI really take off. And this is about a 10 to 20% number. And we're seeing about 20% of the businesses that are seeing value from AI using AI in sales and marketing. Then we move on to software engineering and coding. So this is certainly a space where we're seeing AI agents being used and have been being used since the inception. And as of right now, software engineers and coders are about 55% faster by coding with an agent than without it. And we're seeing, and who are the agentic AI adoption leaders? What industries are adopting AI right now? So Anime has made this beautiful little chart here. You guys won't be impressed, but I am basically impressed every time anything happens with my agent, because I come from the healthcare and insurance industry, and there is no technological advances over there. So every time my Edmaze emails me, I think he's a genius. So the fact that he made a chart and did all this research for me blows my hair back. Okay, call me a dork, call me a nerd. Technology leads. Our agriculture trails. Big surprise. The gap is 64 points. All right, so the number one adopters are SaaS companies and technology companies at 92%. And then we have financial services. Some benchmarks that I've looked at say that financial services are at 91% and technologies at 83% or in the 80s. So this data does vary. It seems to be pretty neck and neck between tech and finance, which I find very interesting. Media and publishing about 78%, manufacturing at 52%, and agriculture at 28%. Telecommunications is one of the areas where we're seeing companies using a lot of agentic AI. And telecommunications are adopting agentic AI at about 48%. And retail is close behind telecommunications at about 47%. So they're pretty neck and neck there. So we're finding that industries with structured digitized data, such as tech and finance, can integrate AI rapidly. Sectors like construction or manufacturing, or especially agriculture, where digitization is limited, are lagging significantly. So you cannot AI what you don't have digitized. You cannot AI what you don't have organized. So the more history you have digitized, the faster you can implement AI and have agentic agents working for and with you. So we've got 7 use cases that actually deliver measurable returns. All right, this is what most people are looking for. So, number 1 is customer support. Okay, the customer service co-pilots, AI assisted agent responses, summaries, knowledge surfacing. This is a clear cost per interaction math. You can figure out the math pretty quickly on when it makes sense to implement customer service once you've done a pilot program. Number 1 is customer service. You can figure out pretty quickly when it makes sense to flip the switch. You do a pilot, you implement it on a small subset of your customer base, and let them know ahead of time, of course. And once you find success, you can start scaling that and introducing it to other customers. All right, pretty easy to find a cost per interaction and the math on that and how to get some ROI math on customer support. Okay, then the next is coding assistance. This one also is pretty easy to benchmark, and the benchmarking is pretty clear. Most are seeing about a 50% increase in speed and efficiency when coders or people that code are using AI agents. And then we have clinical documentation. And this one is it's tough. It's really tough out there because doctors are asking to record patients during their sessions, and some patients are very uncomfortable with this. And if a practice fully implements AI and that now becomes their standard operating procedure, and that you have a patient that does not want to be recorded, doesn't want any of their information put into an LLM, wants to know what's happening to their data, it becomes a major issue. And you have to ask yourself, what percentage of people will object to my standard operating procedure? Will it be 50%? Will it be 10%? I mean, it really is going to depend on your customer base, where you're located in the country, what country you're located in, what state, all of your demographic information will likely produce a different result each and every time. And if you have offices all over, it makes it even more difficult to figure this out, when to flip the switch on it. So the intention of the operator may be to make faster diagnosis, give more personalized care to the patient, reduce errors, all of these wonderful things that will help the patient in the long run. And these clinics, I'm sure, have the best intentions in mind. But you also have to understand the receiving end of that. The patient reading a disclaimer or reading a form on a clipboard that they have to sign before they can see their doctor that says AI is being used for your office visit. You will be recorded. People go ding, ding, just all these alarm bells go off for people. So I just want to bring some human perspective here in this crazy world of AI. So clinical documentation, yes, it can reduce physician burnout, increase productivity, all of this great stuff. But there are many factors that make this much more complicated. One, the tech is complicated. We all know that. And that's exactly what we're talking about here right now. But I would also like to bring forward the perception of AI. And the amount of people that absolutely hate AI and don't want any of their information in with AI, and the laws and regulations and protections that are in place for those patients to voice those concerns and have those concerns be met to where their data is not being shared. And how do you make sure that you have a standard operating procedure for using AI as well as an alternative, and that your team and everyone in your team, the office lady, the billing lady, the doctor, everyone that's talking to your patients or your customers understands that there has to be an alternative if the patient doesn't want their information run through AI. Okay, so it gets really sticky here in this column, which is why healthcare tends to lag. So we've got claims processing, document processing, fraud detection. Definitely hugely, bigly used by insurance companies right now. All the reinsurers, the insurance companies and the insurance companies, the reinsurers are definitely using all of these fraud detection processing with AI. Product content generation. So time to market compression, product content generation, all being used with AI. Demand planning co-pilots. So planning co-pilots is another one where we're using predictive forecasting and supply chain optimization is a big one. Contract review. Anytime you have stacks and stacks of paper that have to be read through, AI is a wonderful way to go, and implementing classical AI and deterministic programs along with your agents just make this a magical process. Okay, for knowledge work, contract review and knowledge work. Then we've got 2.59 trillion in AI spending in 2026, up from 47% just in 1 year. So total spend, why does anybody care about what AI can do and what AI can't do? It's because this 2.59 trillion total spend in 2026. We're tired of hearing about AI. Why is everybody talking about AI? Because it's $2.6 trillion AI spend in 2026. That's why. $24 billion in AI models and platforms, 80% general AI model spending and growth, to $6.37 trillion total IT spend. So you've got 6.4 trillion total IT spend in 2026. 2 trillion of that is total AI spend. Okay, so it's a big piece of the market there. Deloitte, 80 to 90% of new use cases are generative AI, but execution lags. Okay, we talked about this last time nearly. So where does value actually come in with all this stuff? We're seeing that adoption does not necessarily equal value. Just because a business is adopting AI doesn't mean that they're getting any value or return or ROI from implementing that AI. We have a 91% adoption of AI, and only 6% of businesses are getting value or getting increased performance out of using AI. This is a roadmap. There is an on-ramp. It's not that day one you're going to see initial value. Are the on-ramps shorter than they have been in the past? I would argue, yes, that they are. The on-ramps are shorter, but we still have human elements here, and humans still need to be trained, and each step needs to be checked still. Because just like I talked about in my last video, if you haven't seen it, maybe go back and watch it. The more agentic steps you have in a workflow, the more likely that workflow is to fail. Okay. If you have a one-step process, it's got an 86% chance of success. If you have a 10-step process, it only has about a 20% chance of success. Because even though each agent in each step has an 80% success rate, 20% of the time in each of those steps you fail. Okay. So the more steps you have, the more failure you have with agentic workflows. Number 2 is operations equal the number 1 value source. And operations are hard. Businesses already have a hard time documenting what they do. Businesses already have a difficult time documenting what they do. And the largest businesses in the world are better at documenting each step, and it is rarer for a small business to be so digitized. And if a company has their operations completely digitized already, moving over into some agentic workflows will be a lot easier. We're seeing that 62% of the value of AI is coming from operations, agentic operations. And then we have number 3, which is customer service. A lot of companies are using it for customer service, marketing, software engineering, planning and strategy. And finally, we're seeing growth like never before in this space. We've got 47% growth. Some other benchmarks are showing closer to 80% growth this year in AI spending, but it's around $2.6 trillion. Okay, massive market. So with that, thank you for hanging out until the end. Hopefully you got something out of this video. If you could please like, subscribe, write a comment, share the video with a friend, I would appreciate it. And we will see you next time. Bye-bye.